In this video, I head to Alagonia to stay with Evan, who is my host for the last week of my trip.
I was on a journey, and for this journey I was planning on cycling to India. After a year of cycling, I ended up stumbling across this little village. I got invited for a coffee and I ended up staying.
Due to its remote location and difficult job prospects, the village is mainly made up of older people. Because only a few of the friendly locals understand English or German, it's a perfect opportunity to practice Greek. The main street in Alagonia was once a lively area, but today the old houses remain empty. The Cultural Association of the village has made it its mission to bring back life to Alagonia and to do so in a sustainable way. Volunteers can help with various tasks, including a permaculture project or preparing festivals and events together with the cultural organization. In the week ahead, I will learn more and more about the history of the village and its residents. I enjoy the solitude and at the same time the feeling of being part of a very connected community.
So I arrived in Alagonia, which is a small mountain village that's like a 40-minute drive away from Kalamata. So I'm helping out their cultural association with just some general tasks. I'm not quite sure what exactly yet. I know that there is the potato festival happening next weekend, which unfortunately I'm not going to be there for. But it's supposed to be the biggest festival of the year, and they're very cautious about the environment and the sustainability. So they're doing these projects zero waste, and yeah, I'm very looking forward to just learn more about the sustainable lifestyle and also to just help them around to prepare the festival. Also, I heard that there's an old potato factory that they're trying to restore, and they want to offer some tours there during the festival. So I'm helping to restore that. And yeah, in general, I'm happy and looking forward to the next week.
On my first day, I walked through the village to get an idea of Alagonia and discover a beautiful short hiking trail. The water that runs through Alagonia comes from a mountain spring and supplies all the villagers and their plants with water. Soon I see the potato factory for the first time and learn about Alagonia's history. It's more or less the reason for Alagonia's abandonment. When the factory had to close, many of the villagers could no longer find work and left. Many went to Kalamata, but some also went abroad, like the US or Germany. I sweep the floor and collect anything that could be of interest for their museum. At the end of my days, I'm covered in dust and rat poop, but after 3 days of work, the building is slowly showing its vibrant past again.
So I'm in Alagonia since a couple of days now, and I've cleaned some stuff in the potato factory to revive the space and to make maybe in the future a museum out of it. And yeah, today's basically a super chill day. I have to say the project in general is lacking a bit of in like communication and stuff, because sometimes I'm a bit confused in what or if I should do something. But the people are super nice, and I'm really enjoying the time up in the mountains. It's a bit cooler up here than down close to the sea. That's super nice. And yeah, I met some amazing people. For example, just today we met a man at the village square. He saw my number sign at my car, and he told me that he lived in Munich for 20 years and he worked there at the fabric for MAN that they do trucks. And yeah, he had to leave Alagonia actually because the potato factory closed and they were all super poor. So a lot of the people went to Australia, to America, and he went eventually to Munich. And then yeah, he worked there for 20 years and now he's retired. And he came back to Alagonia with his wife, and yeah, they have a house here and they spent their older days now here in Alagonia, and I think probably if you ask more people, these stories will come up more often.
Alagonia has also taken a number of measures that not only make the life in the remote area easier, but also benefit the environment. For example, there's the swap shop. Residents can hand in items that they no longer need in exchange for something valuable to them.
In this village here, in fact, the local dumping ground, landfill, is for all of Kalamata and this region is actually in a mountain kind of next to us here. So we need to try and reduce our waste as much as we can, because that dump landfill is it's like on our doorstep.
Celebrations are only held with reusable dishes, so that new plasticware does not have to be wasted every time. The village also organizes many workshops for young people to teach them more about sustainable farming methods. In general, the community is very involved in permaculture and natural farming. They also want to produce as little waste as possible, which is one of the reasons why they grow and preserve a lot of their food themselves.
It is very difficult, and it's very tough to be self-sufficient in all the food that you need. But regarding fruits and vegetables, we certainly are self-sufficient. But for things like grains and for flours and for making bread, it's a huge undertaking which involves a lot of energy. It's very important. I mean, you can feel incredibly independent if you're not relying on somebody else to produce your own food. So it can be difficult in a city, but perhaps there are also like small urban gardens, and you could perhaps get involved in there. I mean, you can still grow quite a lot of stuff in plants, in pots, on balconies.
If you want to learn more about natural farming, zero waste and self-sufficiency, check out the Alagonia interview episode. There, Evan tells you everything about sustainable living and reducing your environmental footprint. One of the most beautiful events this week was the full moon party that was held for the first time. Many of the villagers, also from the surrounding villages, came to support the cause. Naturally Greek, the real party doesn't get going until late at night, and I suddenly find myself in a queue of people dancing Greek folk dances. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're from the big city, a farmer from the village, or a foreign volunteer. Everybody is dancing and is part of the community. This is an evening I won't forget for a long time. On one of my last days, I followed Evan's recommendation and tried to find the waterfall that is signposted in the village. What I discovered wasn't really a waterfall, but a place straight out of a fairy tale. So I just woke up bright and early to put down my tent, and then I'm gonna help the guys still with some preparations for the potato festival, and I think in the noon or evening I'm gonna leave, and I'm gonna leave for Mistras, which is an archaeological site that I'm gonna check out tomorrow morning.
Ja. In de medium. Waar je ziet, es schrijft hier auf, Hawaii, wir fahren nicht nach Hawaii, wir bleiben nicht hier.
Alright, we're all finished with cleaning the tables and the buckets where the potatoes will go in. And we just had a nice lunch and I'm leaving now. And the road I'm taking now is supposed to be one of the most beautiful mountain roads in all Greece, so I'm expecting some good views. Good morning. I woke up super early today because it's basically the last day of my road trip and I still want to visit the archaeological site here. Let me show you because you can already see it from the camping ground I stayed tonight. Up there we're going today. Ooh. Today I came to the ancient city of Mistras and it's an amazing archaeological site. I came quite early, like around 8:30. They open up at 8 because it gets super hot and it's quite steep, so it's nice to have some shadow now. And yeah, and there's a lot to see, so definitely plan some time if you come here. Mistras was once a powerful Byzantine stronghold that still stands proudly on the hills. Winding paths and crumbling stone walls whisper tales of a once thriving city. The impressive palaces and churches are embellished with delicate frescoes and mosaics. As I walk through the ancient buildings and make my way up the mountain, I imagine the lives of the people who once roamed these streets. The merchants who traded their wares, the scholars who engaged in intellectual conversations, and the warriors who defended their city. I climb higher and reach the Acropolis, where the ruins of the fortress stand proudly over the valley. From this vantage point, I have a breathtaking panoramic view of the surrounding landscape. So I've arrived at the top. It took me about 2 hours and it's really hot, but it's an amazing view. So it's really worth it, and was a nice little hike, little morning workout. But I think I'm gonna make my way back down, and there's a few sites still to see on the way back, and then I'm heading into direction Athens. As I visit the monastery of Mistras, I discover countless kittens. I filled up their water bowls and put them in the shade, as they must have been quite thirsty in this heat. Alright, I'm on the way back to the car now, and the guy that was at the monastery just said that this could be the hottest day of the month. So yay! I chose the right day to do this trip and this hike. Yeah, I see if I can find any lunch now down in the village or on my way. Maybe some water to like wash face or my body or shower or anything. And then we will hit the road. because I didn't take the highway, I took a street without tolls. I now ended up in a little area where you can go to the beach. I'm like, I think 50 minutes away from Athens. And I'm gonna quickly jump into the water because it's crazy hot today. After a 5-hour drive that day, I finally reached Athens. I was initially overwhelmed by the traffic and constantly got lost, but in the end I reached my destination. I had 2 full days in the city, and one by one my friends from Germany arrived, with whom I would spend the next 2 weeks. Of course, we visited the Acropolis, which was completely crowded during the peak season. I had been there twice before during the off-season, and at that time we had the impressive structure all to ourselves. So I recommend visiting Athens during the off-season, also for the sake of the temperature. We ended the evening with a cold drink overlooking the Acropolis, and then it was time to celebrate my birthday. The next day we took the ferry from Rafina to Mamari on Evia, where we spent the remaining 2 weeks really just relaxing. During the sunset, we even saw some dolphins, which was definitely a pinch-me moment. After 7 weeks on September 5th, it was time to return to Germany. This not only marked the end of my trip, but also the end of my year abroad in Greece. When the ferry left the harbor and headed for Italy, I couldn't help myself and burst into tears. I'm incredibly grateful for my time in Greece, for the people I met and can now call friends, and for all the experiences I had. In the end, all I can say is, Ευχαριστώ αγάπη μου.